这个是海关大楼的门口堆场。
This is the customs building's parking area. Take a look at how the containers have piled up.
On September 3rd, a freight forwarder shared a video showing the Port of Piraeus in Greece, where containers are stacked high, almost like a mountain of steel. The video quickly went viral on social media. EPPO, on September 15th, the European Public Prosecutor's Office reported that a June raid called Calypso had seized nearly 500 containers. Following up on that, further investigation revealed 1,935 more containers from China at the Port of Piraeus. As of now, the total number of containers seized in this operation has reached over 2,000, making it the largest container smuggling fraud case in EU history. The goods in these containers, like the ones seized in June, mainly consist of electric bicycles, textiles, and shoes. The fraud involved false declarations, undervaluing goods to evade EU customs duties and VAT. Initial checks show that for electric bicycles alone, only 10 to 15% of the actual quantity was declared correctly. Conservative estimates suggest that these bicycles alone caused a loss of €25 million in uncollected duties and €12.5 million in VAT for the European Union. What's even more shocking is that this fraud has been going on for at least 8 years. According to the EPPO, during this time, the EU has lost at least €350 million in customs duties and €450 million in VAT, totaling up to €800 million. The case also involves money laundering, with criminal profits being funneled back to China through underground channels, further depleting European tax revenue and disrupting the financial system. The report highlights the significant regulatory gaps and the urgent need for stronger cross-border trade oversight. Piraeus Port, a key hub for trade between China and Europe, sees about 4,500 containers arriving every day from China. Without effective monitoring, these fraudulent practices could have become an industry norm. Investigations reveal that these criminal networks are mainly run by Chinese individuals who control the entire supply chain of goods imported from China to the EU. From distribution across EU member states to final sales to customers, these criminals use sophisticated and covert methods to avoid paying customs duties and VAT. In response to the widespread nature of these crimes, EU law enforcement has taken swift action. As of now, the EPPO has filed charges against 6 individuals, including 2 customs officers and 4 customs brokers. They're accused of being involved in the criminal network, repeatedly providing false documents, inciting customs fraud, and helping fraudulent goods from China enter the EU market, causing losses of over €871,000 to the EU budget. Additionally, further evidence is being gathered, and on September 12th, another customs broker was arrested. Many observers believe that while this case appears to be a tax fraud issue on the surface, it actually reveals the European Union's increasing scrutiny of Chinese imports. This is particularly evident in the rise of Chinese products sold on European online stores and platforms like Temu and AliExpress, as well as the growing competition posed by made-in-China goods against European products, like those made in Germany, France, or Italy. Laura Codruta Kövesi, the EU's chief prosecutor, has given this operation significant attention. Highly organized criminal networks have been specializing in this kind of fraud for years. Investigation Calypso sends these criminals a simple message: the rules of the game have changed. No more safe havens for you. Jens Bastian from the Foundation for Science and Politics stated in an interview that China has long invested heavily in Greece and other parts of Europe. He suggested that COSCO, a Chinese shipping company, should fully cooperate with the investigation and provide transparent information. If they fail to do so, their operating license should be reconsidered. Operation Calypso is a powerful strike against this gray economy and serves as a warning for global trade compliance. It will likely lead to much stricter checks on goods from China entering the EU. Operation Calypso began on June 26 this year, when the EPPO launched a large-scale multinational investigation in collaboration with 14 countries. Law enforcement carried out 101 raids across Bulgaria, Greece, France, and Spain, targeting customs agencies, companies controlled by criminal organizations, suspect residences, tax advisors, lawyers, accounting firms, and transport company offices. During the raids, authorities seized €5.8 million in cash, denominated in euros, Hong Kong dollars, cryptocurrencies, and digital wallet funds. They also confiscated over 7,000 electric bicycles and nearly 4,000 electric scooters, along with nearly 500 containers at the Port of Piraeus. In addition, 11 properties in Spain, 27 cars, and luxury items such as watches, jewelry, and designer bags were seized. In Greece, authorities froze properties, yachts, and bank accounts. The 500 containers contained textiles, clothing, shoes, and electric scooters, valued at a total of 700 million euros. The operation resulted in the arrest of 10 suspects, including 2 customs officers. Police also found firearms and cold weapons at the homes of 3 other suspects. Local media described the operation as unprecedented in scale. Greek customs officials revealed that more than 200 staff were involved in the operation, and it took 72 hours to complete the initial inventory. As the investigation deepens, a complex smuggling network that has operated for over 10 years in European ports is emerging. Sources told European media, Documento News, that the criminal group, based in the 3rd Customs Office in Piraeus, Greece, is believed to be led by a Chinese woman named Kelly. According to confirmed data, she is a translator and may have used her language skills to facilitate communication between port staff, freight forwarding companies, and overseas networks. Her background is linked to tobacco smuggling, which suggests that she may have extensive experience in transnational crime. Investigations show that Kelly's group has operated for over 10 years, using 17 shell companies to carry out 21,000 fake transactions, smuggling Chinese goods into the EU in a manner akin to an ant moving its load. Specifically, they set up shell companies in China, Italy, Greece, and other countries, masking the true origin and flow of goods to avoid paying VAT. Some customs officers are suspected of accepting bribes and helping to forge clearance documents. Logistics expert Zhang Hua calculated the losses. Over the past decade, the EU missed out 250 million euros in customs duties and 450 million euros in VAT, essentially giving the smuggling network a huge sum. The entire criminal operation can be broken down into 3 highly specialized steps. Step 1. Falsifying shipments. Goods worth 500 euros are declared as 100 euros. They pass off electric bicycles as parts, and a pair of genuine leather boots as plastic sandals. This cuts customs duties by 80%. High-tax goods are imported under the guise of low-tax items, using fake invoices and shipping lists to conceal the true nature of the products, successfully bypassing initial customs checks. Step 2. Exploiting legal loopholes. For example, a shell company is set up in Bulgaria, using a Greek tax number to clear customs, pretending to send goods to Germany or Denmark. In reality, the goods never move and are stored in warehouses in Greece. The EU's Customs Procedure 42 rule is used for false transshipment, making the VAT disappear. Step 3. Black market cash transactions. The goods eventually enter the black markets in France, Italy, and other countries, where only cash transactions are accepted to avoid the banking system. The profits are then funneled back to China through underground banks, Bitcoin, and other channels, with some funds used to launder money for other criminal networks. Insiders have revealed that from the port workers to warehouse managers, and eventually even customs officers, many were bribed. Over 30 people became insiders in the smuggling operation, turning the entire port into a gray goods assembly line. Corruption and inefficient oversight at the Port of Piraeus provided a breeding ground for Chinese smuggling operations. At the same time, the exposure of Kelly's smuggling group has intensified Western concerns about China's investments in port facilities along its Belt and Road Initiative. Reports suggest that the majority of shares at the Port of Piraeus are held by China's state-owned COSCO Shipping, with the remaining shares held by the Greek government and private investors. COSCO's involvement has been phased. In 2009, it took over operations of 2 container terminals. In 2016, during Greece's privatization wave, COSCO acquired a 51% stake in the port operator, a move that sparked fierce debate in Greece. By 2021, COSCO increased its stake to 67%. The Port of Piraeus lies at the critical junction of the Suez Canal and the ports of Pakistan, making it of great strategic importance to China's shipping industry. It can be said that the Port of Piraeus plays a key role in China's long-term plans, and it is a vital part of the Belt and Road Initiative and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. This case has prompted Greece and the EU to strengthen port oversight to prevent similar incidents. At the same time, the U.S. has heightened its focus on the Mediterranean. Recently, the Trump administration has turned its attention to China's global port network, from the Panama Canal to Mediterranean hubs. A quiet struggle over the maritime supply chain is intensifying. According to Reuters, the U.S. plans to review China's interests in the Port of Piraeus, as well as other key global container terminals, in order to limit China's influence over the maritime supply chain. 3 sources revealed that the White House is considering supporting U.S. or Western companies to acquire Chinese stakes in overseas ports as part of a maritime supply chain reset. Stuart Poole Robb, founder of UK-based risk and intelligence consulting firm KCS Group, told Reuters that the U.S. government views Chinese investments in global ports as a major national security threat. Citing communication with U.S. security agencies, he warned that Beijing could exploit its control over these assets for espionage, gaining military advantages, or disrupting supply chains during a crisis. Poole Robb predicted that in the short to medium term, the U.S. will likely continue to counter China's influence in key port areas by building alliances and partnerships to suppress China's growing influence and economic power. This move by Trump is described as the most ambitious expansion of U.S. influence in maritime trade since the 1970s. According to a report from the Council on Foreign Relations last year, as of August 2024, Chinese enterprises hold investments in 129 global port projects across all continents except Antarctica. Over the past 15 years, Chinese state-owned enterprises have established significant influence in European ports. A recent example is the container terminal Tollerort in Hamburg, Germany, where COSCO Shipping acquired 25% of the stake in June 2023, further solidifying its strategic presence in Northern Europe. The U.S. is closely monitoring this trend. The U.S. Federal Maritime Commission launched a review of 7 maritime choke points, including the Port of Piraeus in Greece, as well as ports in Valencia, Spain, Kingston, Jamaica, other Caribbean ports, and key ports on the U.S. West Coast. The struggle over global port assets has far exceeded business transactions, becoming a microcosm of the geopolitical rivalry between China and the United States. In March 2025, CK Hutchison Group sold its global port assets, valued at $22.8 billion to the American Blackstone Group. The assets cover 43 ports in 23 countries, including the strategic ports of Balboa and Cristobal at the 2 ends of the Panama Canal. Originally led by the U.S. Blackstone Group, the deal quickly became complicated when COSCO Shipping expressed interest in acquiring the assets. While COSCO proposed holding only a 30% stake, it demanded key veto powers in scheduling, rates, and security checks. This raised strong concerns in the U.S., especially after President Trump repeatedly stated that control of the Panama Canal must be reclaimed. Control over these ports has become a political focal point. The Trump administration attempted to pressure CK Hutchison to sell the control of these 2 ports to a U.S. consortium in order to weaken China's influence in the Panama Canal region. However, CK Hutchison has faced legal hurdles, requiring approval from 12 jurisdictions, and political resistance from China has stalled the deal. In January 2025, the U.S. Department of Defense placed COSCO on its blacklist for cooperation with the Chinese military, providing legal grounds for scrutiny. Meanwhile, the EU's Operation Calypso, which exposed Chinese-owned ports for tax evasion and money laundering, has further fueled concerns about the criminal risks of COSCO's involvement in the transaction. The struggle over global ports and maritime control is rapidly evolving into the maritime Cold War between the U.S. and China. A report from a U.S. think tank has highlighted that through state-owned enterprises such as COSCO Shipping, China Merchants Group, and Shanghai International Port Group, China owns or leases a vast network of ports worldwide. This is not just about controlling trade routes, but is also a core pillar of China's maritime Silk Road strategy. From Greece's Port of Piraeus to both ends of the Panama Canal, from Sri Lanka's Hambantota port to Kingston port in the Caribbean, China's port footprint spans critical global nodes. The U.S. is highly alert to this. In June 2025, the Center for Strategic and International Studies released a report that called China's investment in Jamaica's Kingston port a significant security risk, especially given that this port is a major transshipment hub between the Americas and Europe. Since returning to the White House, President Trump has taken several steps to bolster U.S. maritime influence. In April 2025, an executive order was signed requiring federal agencies to develop a plan to revitalize the shipbuilding industry and establish a ship registry in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This encourages merchant ships to fly the U.S. flag to strengthen maritime sovereignty. Even more striking is the upcoming maritime services fee policy. Starting October 14, 2025, the U.S. will impose a $50 per net ton port fee on ships owned or operated by Chinese entities, which will increase to $140 within 3 years. This means that a 12,000 TEU container ship docking at U.S. ports will incur a one-time cost of over $1.5 million, nearly several times the traditional fee. Analysts suggest that this policy is not just an economic sanction, but a strategic blockade. Through high port fees, tariff barriers, and flag policies, the U.S. aims to force global shipping companies to reduce reliance on Chinese vessels and sever China's maritime ties on international routes. This port war is no longer about competition at the docks. It's a deep-sea struggle in the broader reshaping of global order.